皆さんこんにちは。世田谷美術館の学芸員の塚田美紀と申します。展覧会の他にパフォーマンスの授業も担当しております。今日はですね、10月に行います夢の解剖少女乱れというパフォーマンスに関するインタビューを行っていきたいと思います。実はこれはトランスエントランスというシリーズ、もう17年ぐらいやってるんですけど、当館のエントランスホールを使って、そこの空間と対話をしながら作品を作るようなアーティストを呼んできて、舞台にするというシリーズ、その第17回目になるんですね。で今回は特別編ということで、イタリア出身の演出家振付家のルカ・ベジェッティさんをお招きして能の演目の少女乱れを演出していただくことになっているんです。一体それがどういうことなのか。ルカさんは実はお能には大変関心を深く寄せていて、もう30年ぐらい前からいろんな形でお勉強されて学んでこられてます。日本の能楽堂でも作品をすでに構成振り付けなどをしたご経験もあるんですけれども、今回は美術館のエントランスにお能を持ってくると、どういうことになるのかお話を伺ってみたいと思います。Now we are in a museum and we are using the atrium, which is a totally different place compared to the no theater. So would you tell me how would you use this space and how would you fit such a kind of a no theater to that areas?
We are creating a situation in this beautiful atrium for a performance of no to be perceived in a different way, and that to me is of great interest on how to create a situation where the performance remains true to itself in its nature as no, but at the same time is perceived and seen in a way that maybe opens new horizons, for the people who usually watch no in a certain situation, or maybe not. We don't know. But in any case, that's the ambition. So what we are working with here is a natural performance of no at the highest level in terms of the players. We have players of great caliber,
yes.
And we are using the atrium as a stage and trying to find the condition for this performance to be, for the atrium rather, to be considered as a container that enriches the performance of this particular play.
So that will be a big challenge for us.
It's a very big challenge, it's a gigantic challenge, and I'm not from the world of no, but I'm not even Japanese. So,
Yes.
So it's a great ambition. But I was and we were, very very lucky to have the collaboration of really very very important people that also saw the opportunity that this might represent for themselves too.
Sure.
But again, it's very ambitious, but at the same time, I don't have the vision that imposes things on this form. To me, no has been for many years, a model for my own vision of theater, and I am in total awe of this form, and it's the greatest form I can imagine as far as theatrical traditions. So I don't have any desire to in any way destroy it, rather, to make it as more interesting for us in this space as possible, and to also make this space itself as interesting as possible because of it, And, but yeah, of course, it's a gigantic undertaking in terms of the forces that it moves and also within the world of no that we know goes back many centuries. And, but again, you know, we have really wonderful people, that great masters that we work with.
Yeah.
So it's very, very exciting.
I invited you 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And at that time, you created a very beautiful performance, which starts from the exhibition gallery, and then we moved the corridor with the audience, all the audience, and we got to the atrium, and then there began a very beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So, so in you already know our space, the atrium, the structure of the atrium.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you are finding new aspects through the rehearsals for this project. So would you please tell me about your findings?
Yeah, no. So the performance we've done in 18 was of course something very, very different. And it was an itinerant performance that moved, as you said, from one place to another, and it ended in the atrium. But I would say the main difference that also leads me to see new things is that with the performance for the Munari project, once we moved into the atrium, we were totally focused to what this performer were doing, and of course we considered the space, but I would say that it was centered on as a moving object, in a kind of flow, because we were walking with the performers and were kind of moving with them, and so the space played a very different role in the performance, though it did play a role, but of a very different nature that it does here. Why? Because we are sitting, so this is a seated performance in the atrium, during a work that lasts for, say, between 30-40 minutes. And because of the pace and the timing of this experience, we are led to discover the space that we are in. So it's a totally different sensation, I think. You know, and of course we're extremely focused on the players, but they perform within a space that itself is some kind of organism, almost. And so this made me discover how, you know, the possibility of the atrium, which essentially is at the core of this project. You know, how can I create different perspectives, and how can I enhance certain lines and certain heights and certain proportion, and how to maybe shift these lines and proportion during the actual performance through the lights. So yes, of course I knew the atrium, but I had to look at this space again with very different eyes, and in a way much more detailed, and consider every element. As you know, it's we are considering every single detail of this space, and a discovery that came quite early in this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we started talking about this project
2 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
As we were doing the other project. Almost.
Yes.
And by that time, I also already knew the space, and since we were talking about no, and no is always on my mind somehow. We realized that the architect that designed this museum had imagined the atrium as it somehow inscribed the form of a no stage in the form of the atrium connected to the corridor that leads to the fan-shaped gallery. So even by looking at the ground plan of the museum, you actually see the shape of an O stage. And then you confirm that it was the architect kind of, idea, his desire,
but I think
suggest.
I just told you that the idea of the architect Shozo Uchi, the late Shozo Uchi, his idea was to imagine the corridor as the hashigakari.
Right.
Yes, but I didn't notice the size of the atrium. And you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's hard to. You really discover it by looking at the plan. Because the atrium has a curvilinear shape, and so which is misleading compared to the shape of a no stage, which is all made of straight lines and or diagonals. But in truth, it is really, and especially the proportion is the same as a no stage, between the bridge, the shigakari, and the actual stage. So that was basically the starting point, okay, this is a no stage, then how can we, use it to stage a no performance? But the challenges that this presented were great in the sense that, okay, if you're sitting in a traditional no theater, which is basically a theater inside another building, this shape, you see it no matter where you're sitting, and you see the bridge and the stage that is connected to. While here we're in the atrium, but this famous corridor bridge, we don't see it.
Yes, it's invisible.
It's invisible. And so in a way it was challenging, but I would say a beautiful challenge to imagine how to make, and that was a starting point for all the other things that came after. So how to reveal a space that is there, how to suggest a further space, a further even dimension, if you want, even in poetic terms, I would say, that is beyond, how to suggest it, how to have people imagining. That was the very interesting challenge. We have worked on that through the use of lights and through the shadows that the lights can create. So that we are sitting and hopefully we will have, our imagination will be directed towards spaces that we don't see, but that we somehow sense, that are suggested to us, through the perspective that the lights can create, and also through the fact that some players come from that area, but we don't see where they come from.
Yes.
But there's something very fascinating to me, when I work in this type of spaces, and how to make visible what is not visible. So visible in our mind, to suggest something that is. So the role of imagination here too plays, the role that imagination plays is important, and which is an essential dimension of any theater performance, or any performance as a matter of fact.
Well, and when you and I started this project 2 years ago, we decided to include the very famous no players like Keizo Nagayama sensei and Genjiro Okura sensei.
Yeah.
And first of all, you asked that if we can get some suggestion from them about the repertoire.
Right.
Which one would fit for our purpose and for the space? And we got several suggestions from them, and then you chose the Shojo-Midare. So would you please tell me the reason?
Right. Shojo-Midare it seemed the right choice because it is the shortest play in the entire repertoire. And personally, what I felt it was, what made it the right choice in my mind was the fact that it has a very simple structure, so it's a short play, and whose center, as in every no play, but particularly in this case, the final dance, let's say, is really it takes, you know, almost the 2/3 of the play, and so the act of performance itself is at the core of this, rather than a dramatic development. So that seemed to me the right choice because of it, because to consider this experience here, this no performance here, to consider in a way that the act of performing itself would be the essence of it, rather than a dramatic development.
The storyline.
A storyline, or and also something that it was the combination of this very simple structure, and at the same time I discover being one of the most difficult to perform. So the main actors that perform Shojo-Midare faces great challenges, and is considered one of the most difficult plays to perform. So I suppose, you know, several lead actors, they want to perform Shojo-Midare when there is a particular occasion to, because it requires great skill. And so that was it seemed right to me for this occasion, where the actor performance itself, I mean, to me, really, that was the essence, you know, the no being the art of the performance, of the art of the actors and and its players. But at the same time, it is in its simplicity. It has a clear, as always, poetic dimension, and so that was the reason. But this brings into consideration, again, in a more general sense, on how to perform in spaces as a museum, where in a theater, the theater as itself as an architecture is constructed that we find a space, a time that is condensed, that is compressed, almost by convention. So we all agree, you know, that in that hour or 2 hours or more, but our time has a different density, and time is compressed. During a busy day, in truth, we waste so much time all the time by doing unnecessary things. But going to the theater somehow is a way of forgetting all of that and all agreeing that we are gonna live in so the time as a different, you know, is compressed, is condensed in a very, very unique way, and that's why in theater it's possible, of course, that 1 minute lasts for 1 hour, or that you know, just you turn the corner and you've traveled great distances, or and also sometimes the other way around too. You know that you know the time can shift in one way and the other. It can. Well, in a museum is again, in a general sense, the museum is meant for almost the opposite. You know, we go and we take our time our own time to watch artworks. We can sit in front of a painting, in theory, for as as long as the museum is open,
Yes.
if we want to, and we don't have that limitation, and
Yes.
so it's a very leisurely time. And so how to combine this, a place that has this function and nature with the one of a performance that requires this concentration, unless we do another type of performance. But for no play, certainly, that's where we need to be seated, and we need to all kind of come together,
Yes.
as a whole. So the choice of Shojo-Midare was also directed towards this thought of
Between
performing,
the of the
yes,
theater
and
the music.
yes, and performing something extremely difficult with an increase in challenge, if we want, because it's already very difficult even on a no stage, and to do it here, of course, it's even more difficult. So it's really the
Yes.
The peak of challenges. I don't know.
Yes.
It's,
So I would also like to ask you about the title of our project, Anatomy of the Dream.
Yeah.
Anatomy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I in a way I stole the title from a painting by my wife, Moya.
Oh, really?
Yes, she's very good with titles, and
Yes.
there is one of her paintings. By the way, Moya has designed the lamps that we
Yes.
have in the performance. And that is Anatomy of the Ghost, which I really loved. And so when we were searching for a title, I thought of that, and we adapted this title. But anatomy, of course, it's the study of the functioning and the structure. It's a study of the structure and the form of a body.
Yes.
Of a living creature. But as a secondary meaning, it's also the structure and form of the inner workings of anything.
Anything.
Anatomy of a society, or so.
Sure.
But in this sense, here, I mean, you can take both senses here, and we, in a way, the atrium and what's around the atrium is considered as an organism. Right? So it fascinated me to connect this idea to the dream that is at the core of almost every no play, and including this one. So to suggest, the form of this space, not just the physical space, but also the poetical space,
Yes.
the poetic dimension that is beyond. That's why anatomy. So anatomy in this sense, in sense of suggesting the structure and the functioning of an organism, of a body,
Of
if
a
you
body,
want. So
yes. Of
the
the
atrium,
museum.
the atrium is the body of the museum, and we
Yes.
say the body of the building, or
Yes.
we say that. So the anatomy in that sense, and because this play is a dream, it's a dream that we are ourselves dreaming somehow, but that the actors are dreaming. Also.
Yes.
And so it is also the anatomy of that dream.
So we are now living in a COVID-19 era,
Right.
and it changed our way of living
Right.
a lot. So do you think that this pandemic has had any impact on your style of working or creating a performance piece?
It has affected the way that we perceive reality, of course.
Yes.
And maybe maybe for the best. Yeah, because it has, we have acquired different, we've acquired capacities that maybe we had forgotten about.
And patience.
And patience, and we are more attentive to things. From the perspective of the performance itself, it has also brought the question on how to capture through another medium, that film or video in this case, the performance, because in some cases that's all we had. Here too, I mean, we can accommodate very few visitors, and we want somehow more people to catch some sensation of it. So how to translate the experience of performance into another medium, into film? It's a very, very, very interesting question.
Yes, and it's so challenging.
It's very challenging. I was confronted with this earlier this year, because I filmed a performance in Italy, and it was an opera performance. And in the beginning I thought, well, okay, so I'm making a film of this, but this doesn't necessarily, I thought that did not necessarily inform the performance itself, but it's not true actually, because I thought, okay, it's something that will maybe affect film as a medium, how to adapt this form in order to capture this, but the performance itself was informed by the fact that a singer had to sing with the camera at 2 feet from her face, so that she had to control the blinking of her eyes, really? And singing this very difficult thing. So that brought in actually a level of performance which I did not realize that was entirely different. So it's a chance for performance too, for the actor performance, the need of filming, and not necessarily as a film where you have multiple takes and you film something, then you film again. No, to film an actual performance, an actual without, in a single sequence. That has brought in very, very interesting questions, and for us here too, because of course we are going to film this, we're going to transfer into film the actual performance. And so how to capture that moment? How can we? You can't just do it naturally like that. You have to consider every possible detail and perspective, and how to in trying to capture this. So that has been for me the most interesting, thing that happened because of this pandemic, on having the chance of working into film that has been a great desire of mine, but then I never actually got down to do it.
So in a mean, you got a great chance.
It's a great chance, but also is a chance for all of us that work within the performing arts to reconsider many things, and to consider the relation with the audience, and